I'm Jane Dutton. Welcome to the program. A bomb containing almost a ton of explosives has torn through a crowded market in southwestern Balochistan province. More than 80 people were killed in the largely Shia neighborhood in Quetta and almost 200 injured. A bomb attack in the provincial capital last month killed at least 92 people. The group behind these attacks, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, it was founded in the late 1990s, banned in Pakistan, and that's contributing to a separatist rebellion. Nationalist groups are demanding political autonomy and a greater share of profits from the region's resources. And they're joining forces to take on Pakistan. Incredible amount of players happening there, so many with so many different agendas.
Well, I think the reality is that we've had several policies towards Pakistan, as we've had several policies towards Afghanistan. But I think that recent developments, or developments that are just taking place now, are going to shift our policy somewhat. I think that we've never had a South Asia policy. We've had a Pakistan policy that was steered by our Afghan policy. I think we're coming back to a point where we may have a Pakistan policy, a coherent Pakistan policy. No Americans were attacked in Quetta, but clearly we have a vital interest in the stability of Pakistan as such. So I think that that's one development. The other development really is, in a sense, the concern that we have about the success of the Pakistan army in fighting this insurgency. And clearly the army's up to its neck in fighting radicals in Pakistan.
What do you think they want to? I mean, according to Human Rights Watch, I mean, they're saying that the Pakistani military is supporting Sunni groups. They're saying that the Shia community members continue to be slaughtered in cold blood. This is a quote. The callousness and indifference of authorities offers a damning indictment of the state, its military and security agencies. 2012 was the bloodiest year for Pakistan's Shia community in living memory, and if this latest attack is any indication, 2013 has started on an even more dismal note.
The dilemma for Amnesty International and for others is we cannot decide whether Pakistan is unwilling or unable to stop these groups. If they're unwilling, that's a question of complicity. If they're unable, that's a more serious matter, that the Pakistani military and the state of Pakistan are unable to defend the integrity of their own country. And I think given Pakistan's nuclear capability, its larger status in the world, that's a very important issue for the United States as well as for India and even for China.
You see, you need to see the larger perspective of what's happening in Pakistan right now. Pakistan is under active insurgencies right now, at least in two neighboring provinces which are bordering Afghanistan. The insurgency in the northwestern frontier province has already claimed 100,000 men in dead and wounded, and Pakistan army has lost over 10,000 men. So that's an active insurgency which is based in Afghanistan, being funded, supported, weaponized and armed from Afghanistan, and Pakistan army is fighting against it. And that TTP-led insurgency is one axis of it. The other largest province of Pakistan, Balochistan, is also under active insurgency, which is primarily led by two insurgent groups. One is TTP, and other is a quasi-Marxist Balochistan Liberation Army. And both of them are based in Afghanistan. And let me tell you a fact that in the last 5 years, over 100,000 families of non-Baluchis, of Punjabis, of Pashtuns, of other Sindhis, people who were settled in Balochistan, have been forced to migrate in an ethnic cleansing process from the province of Balochistan back to their own native provinces. And BLA is conducting this massive war of ethnic cleansing. And majority of these 100,000 families, almost 1 million people, are Sunnis. They're not Shias. The Shias community, which is in Quetta, is no doubt a peaceful community, a patriotic Pakistanis, and they are being targeted by Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, which is an axis, a militant arm of the same militant group, TTP, which is waging an insurgency in northwestern frontier province. And both BLA and TTP are based in Afghanistan. Pakistan Army, Pakistan government, intelligence agencies have absolutely no doubt about this. This has been a reason of major friction between the ISI and CIA for CIA's support to the insurgent groups in Pakistan, or allowing them to live and be based in Afghanistan. CIA has been waging a drone war against Pakistan. That's been a major cause of friction between the two countries. The American NATO forces attacked the Pakistan army post on Bajor, after which Pakistan blocked the NATO supplies for 8 months. And Pakistan Army's Director General Military Operations is on record saying that Americans attacked the army post to give passage give access to the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the TTP. So whatever is happening in Quetta right now.
Stephen Cohen here. What do you make of that analysis? And disagreeing with some points there.
Yes, I think it's irresponsible to make these kinds of allegations without evidence. In fact, it's in India's interest, it's in America's interest, it's in Iran's interest to work with Pakistan to normalize Pakistan. And I would begin, as I've argued in a forthcoming book, that we should cooperate in Afghanistan to stabilize Afghanistan as the Americans pull out and as ISAF pulls out. To allege that the Americans and the Indians are behind Baluchistan, there's simply no evidence that I've seen to substantiate this. It's in India's long-term interest to actually have a stable and normal Pakistan, not a broken up Pakistan.
What have the ramifications been of the most recent standoff between India and Pakistan over the border with between the two countries, the line of control?
I think that it's a typical example of a crisis that's whipped up, and we're going to see more of these in the future. But the fact that the two countries deter each other through nuclear weapons, that there's no interest in a larger conflict, I think dampens down these conflicts. But clearly we need a regional approach to these issues, one that deals with Kashmir, with Afghanistan, with water, and also promotes rail and gas and other communications between all the South Asian states. And I agree that there should be a pipeline from Iran to India through Pakistan and Afghanistan. To some degree, the Americans have opposed that. I think that's wrong. The book I'm just publishing now makes an argument for a regional approach to South Asia, which would build on the shared interest of India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan in normalization. I would include Iran in that also, where Iran has an interest in a stable South Asia, not a destabilized South Asia.
And how is Pakistan being viewed at the moment? I mean, you can't say that Pakistan is stable in any way, can you? I mean, you've got the elections coming.
Well, in Washington we have we've had several policies towards Pakistan, and I think you could break it down. I've done this with Bruce Rydell, a colleague of mine at Brookings. Different agencies and different entities have different approaches towards Pakistan, but I think we're moving hopefully towards a more integrated policy towards the stability of Pakistan. You remember that when Kerry was senator, the Kerry-Lugar bill actually was a pro-Pakistan bill to stabilize and normalize Pakistan. Now that he's Secretary of State, I would hope that some of those policies would be implemented, because we have a long-term interest in Pakistan's stability. And whether we've been attacking Pakistan with drones or not, we have certainly been doing that, but I think to the degree that's been destabilizing Pakistan, that's been a bad policy. To the degree it's attacked groups which are attacking Pakistani officials and government, that's been a good policy.
Proxy war is indeed being fought over Pakistan, and we've had this going on for years and years and years. Islamabad claims that the Baloch resistance is supported by India. Is there any truth in that?
Yes, there's no doubt about this. There's absolutely no doubt about this, that the insurgency in Balochistan is based in Afghanistan, but is supported by both the Indians as well as the foreign Western secret services. Pakistan's corrupt, incompetent interior minister was also forced to say these things. Pakistan Army strongly believes it. The security think tanks and defense establishment have caught so many times the family of the late Nawab Akbar Bukti bringing in weapons from Afghanistan, and they have openly acknowledged their contact with the US Embassy and the Indians in Delhi. Now, let me make one more point also about the sectarian axis, about killing the Shias, because the fallout of this killing of Shias is that relations between Pakistan and Iran are very strained, are very hurt, damaged, and that is why now when Pakistan and Iran are cozying up together on multiple mega projects like Iran-Pakistan gas line, drawing up of Pakistan's buying energy and electricity from Iran and building up of Istanbul, Tehran and Islamabad railway lines, under these circumstances also their Pakistani security establishment and think tanks feel that the countries which are not happy with Pakistan getting closer to Iran are actually involved in igniting these sectarian wars.
What do you think of that, Mr. Cohen? Do you agree? It looked like you were threat now to the democratic process is real, and is Baluchistan just a small part of a bigger picture of the country? Mr. Cohen?
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry. Oh, yes. I don't want to get into the details of the Baloch insurgency. I think it's changed its nature over the years. It's no longer led by tribal leaders. It's become a middle-class insurgency. And there are grievances. Whether those grievances should be resolved by force or violence, I have my grave doubts. But clearly, the Pakistan government has lost its integrity all over Pakistan, especially in places like Balochistan and KP and tribal areas. And it's from an American point of view, it's in our interest, I think, that the Pakistan government develop its coherence, and that includes a normal relationship between the military and civilian politicians. So I think the election is important in that it will presumably rejuvenate and revive the political process and enhance the politicians' role in governance. But of course, from a military point of view, I agree with the Pakistan Army's critics, that being governed by incompetent politicians is not good either. I don't see the military in a dilemma where the elections have not produced great leadership, but I think it's better leadership than they've had in the past. Yet the military itself is reluctant to intervene and to act directly because they know it would be unpopular, and B, they're not sure if they can govern. So Pakistan is a country rich in dilemmas and rich in problems. From an American point of view, I'd say that it's important that Pakistan normalize its relationship internally and also with its major neighbors. But as we pull out of Afghanistan, we're especially concerned about Pakistan-Afghanistan relationship, and we don't want to see a civil war break out there. We don't want to see it spill over into Pakistan.
It is going to play out in the upcoming elections. I mean, who's going to be benefiting from this?
Let me give you some statistics on ground. As you said, Balochistan has got about 8 million population. Out of this 8 million, almost 5 million are Pashtuns, and those non-Baluchis who are settlers from other provinces. And out of those 4 million Baluchis that are left behind, 90% are pro-Pakistan patriots. So the insurgents are in the entire province, which is almost 42% of Pakistan in area, are not more than 5,000 fighting men. So we are talking of ridiculously low figures here of militants and insurgents, but who are, because of the vast territory, because of the total collapse of the judicial system and the government, they are able to operate, and they are drawing their resources and weapons from Afghanistan. The entire Balochistan is considered as a B area in a legal language, which means there is no police there. Police is only in 5% of Balochistan or in the major urban cities. The rest of the countryside is not manned by any force. And it is the judicial collapse, it is the governmental collapse which is causing the insurgency to flourish. The patriots below are in majority, and they are supporting the government and the army.
I mean, Mr. Cohen, briefly, if you will, do you think that